Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. This is our first video of our 90-day carnivore diet challenge that we're going to be doing videos throughout that 90 days, keeping you posted as to what we're doing, how we're doing, different things we're doing to keep ourselves on track, and just showing you our progress and giving you more information in every video as to what the carnivore diet is, how to do it successfully, and what it could mean for you. I'm Josh Scott. I'm a mechatronics engineer. You can find me on YouTube at 3D Scott Productions.
And I'm Dr. Jenna Scott at Southeast Natural Medicine. You can find me online at www.southeastnaturalmedicine.com and on YouTube at Southeast Natural Medicine. I'm a naturopathic physician and I help people live their best lives.
So as you can see on our calendar here, we are not doing carnivore yet. We haven't started. We're sort of, cleaning out our house of things that we can't eat on carnivore because we don't want it to be a temptation. We also don't want it to go to waste. So we are starting on the 13th of January of 2025. So that'll be in a few weeks here. So what is carnivore? Well, you've probably already heard of it. There's a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people have just different opinions of it. It really is at the heart of it just eating meats and sometimes just other animal products like butter, milk, eggs, cheese, things like that. Strict carnivore people literally only do meat. They don't even do spices, which that's going to be tough for me. It may be tough for you also. But no spices. You can do salt. Salt is a mineral. But yeah, really just eating protein and fat in the form of animal meat. And there's a few different animal types that we'll get into. But we're not going to get too much into exactly how the carnivore diet works on different aspects of your body. To do what it does, we might pepper in some here and there later on in the future videos. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that already go into that. Dr. Ken Berry, MD, is on YouTube, and Dr. Sean Baker. They're both on YouTube and Spotify. Check them out. They have a lot of great videos on it already. They've been doctors for many, many years. Jenna's almost going on 10 years soon, and they have a lot of great information on that. Because it's already been done, we don't want to just continue redoing everything. So check them out. I highly recommend them. We're just going to be showing you our process, what we did, and how well it affected us. People say, a lot of times that, they've lost a lot of weight, which is, you may not be able to see it here, but I've got a little bit of a belly and quite a bit of visceral fat, the fat inside the abdominal cavity surrounding the organs, which is not good. Fat on the outside of the body is one thing, but on the inside of the body, it really does a lot more damage and can lead to worse problems. So you want to be careful about that. And Jenna will go into some detail on some ways that you can check how much visceral fat you actually have in your body right now if you don't know. Stick along with us. We're going to be going pretty deep dive throughout this 90 days. We're going to be uploading quite a few videos. So yeah, I hope you learn something from this, and I hope if you're healthy enough, you're going to need to talk to your doctor, or you can meet with my wife and see if she has some availability in her schedule to talk to you about it as a patient. It may not be for everybody. There are some people that may have health conditions where it's not safe to do a carnivore diet, but there probably is room in your diet for more meat and less carbs and starches and artificial ingredients and things like that. Regardless of whether you do carnivore or not, cut those things out of your diet.
The next thing we've done is actually clean out our pantry. So we have left quite a few things in our pantry on the lower level, such as bags of rice, some dried beans, quinoa, and some canned vegetables like canned pumpkin and canned green beans and some canned mushrooms, I believe. So those are things that we will likely add back into our diet after the 90 days in the future, but not right now. So they're going to be on the lower level of the pantry. And then in the top two levels of the pantry, pretty much completely cleared out so that we can have our carnivore friendly snacks like meat sticks, other protein snacks that are just carnivore. So that is a good way to prepare. You definitely don't want to go into this without doing your prep work first. People are more successful if you prepare for it mentally mentally, but also physically with your pantry and your storage space, so that you actually have the freezer space and the fridge space for your carnivore diet. So after your fridge and your freezer and your pantry are cleaned out, then what's next? Well, that would be to actually go and buy your carnivore diet foods. So primarily your meats. So what meats are the priority? Well, technically on carnivore, any meat is allowed, but the ruminant animals are actually the number one priority. So ruminant is anything that ruminates or chews its cud. So cow, so beef, sheep, goat, and deer are the top 4, or really the only 4 meats that are ruminant animals. And so those are what you want to prioritize and create your carnivore diet around, are those food groups.
So even better than buying all of your meat, which is still a good option if that's available to you, is hunting. And surprisingly, we were actually able to get 2 deer this season, thank the Lord. It's great just to help pack out the freezer without having to spend a whole lot more money. They, depending on where you get your meat from, it could be a lot healthier to eat an animal that you harvest yourself, as opposed to just getting everything from, Walmart or wherever it is. So that's definitely an option if you're already a hunter. If not, then, well, you might want to consider doing that. It is a great way to be in tune with your food, to know really where it comes from. We live in sort of the golden age of food, where you don't really have to do anything in terms of how it was actually made or processed to get actually on your table. We definitely support homesteading. So, it's definitely a great thing to do for homesteading as well. Or if you, some of you may have your own cattle or your own pigs or your own sheep or goat, whatever you might have. If you don't, that's also a great option to cut back on costs and to really know what went into your food. With the deer that we got, it was mostly probably grass, acorns, and some corn, different things like that. Hopefully that didn't have too much chemicals in it. Hopefully less than what you find in just your average hamburger meat at Walmart. When possible, when you're buying, you might want to try and find grass-fed and grass-finished if possible. It's kind of difficult. It's kind of expensive too. As you might hear from Dr. Ken Berry, he says, even if you're just eating, hot dogs and bologna, which has a lot of additives and fillers, he said if that's all you can afford, then that's still better than eating the standard American diet. So don't let cost be an issue if you can't afford to just do hot dogs and bologna. But it would be better to step up to cow. We're going to be eating a lot of bacon. I know that we've got quite a bit of bacon in the freezer. So yeah, hunting and homesteading, and yeah, just anything you can do to lower the cost, because it can be daunting at first to see, how much does a steak cost? Well, it doesn't always have to be steak. But when you're cutting out all of the other things that you would normally spend money on, and I mean, that's everything, like sodas, that's also beer and alcohol. That's also any of your vegetables that you would be eating. And this, a lot of times, unless you live in a city or state where there's a bunch of restaurants that offer carnivore options, it's probably going to be your fast food and your restaurant eating out. So you're going to have a lot more funds to spend on getting your meat. So definitely, like Jenna said, prepare and plan. As you can see, it's past January 1st. This is not oh no, we need to go on a diet. Let's stop everything we do and just day one of 2025, let's start a new diet. And though how those end, they almost never are successful because people want to change everything all at once and they don't prepare for it. They don't plan for it. Most people, even when they're talking about New Year's resolutions, it's like literally a day or two before January 1st. It's not like months ahead of time or weeks trying to prepare for that change. That's why a lot of those fail. So with this, we want to encourage people to not just, cut all your ties with food immediately and do all this tomorrow. Follow us for a little while, plan for it. Go ahead and start putting more meat in your diet already and cutting out those carbs and those just pointless calories that most people eat, including myself. I'm not trying to be holier than thou. You know, I've got a pretty bad diet right now, and I mean, you know, my body shows it. My how out of shape I am shows it as well. So we're probably just very similar to y'all out there watching this. So don't feel like this is something that you can't do. So follow us, learn from us, ask us questions, you know, post in the comments. Again, don't just trust us. Do your research for other people, like I said, Ken Berry and Sean Baker. And there's many more. Those are just the two sort of top people right now that are MDs. Joe Rogan is a huge proponent of carnivore, and you've probably watched Joe. And he's incredibly in shape, you know, and he's always trying to do the absolute best thing for his body. And with the amount of people he knows, I'm pretty sure he's got a pretty good amount of information as to what would be the best. And he highly supports carnivore. Jordan Peterson, he says specifically that he believes the carnivore cured his depression. So if depression and mental health is something that you're suffering from, then this could be a great fix to that. That your regular MD or your psychiatrist or your therapist probably aren't telling you, because they're not informed on these things, at least not yet anyway.
So as Josh just mentioned, there is a way to check how much visceral fat you have. So visceral fat is specifically the fat around the organs. This is a very dangerous and inflammatory type of fat. Scientists have figured out that visceral fat actually creates its own inflammatory molecules. So if you're dealing with a lot of inflammation, look to your abdominal cavity. There might be some visceral fat there. Likely there is, and there's likely an excessive amount of it. There is a way to determine how much you have, and that's through a body composition test. If you're local to the Middle Tennessee area, you could come by my clinic and actually do a body composition test. It just takes 30 seconds to run, and it determines your percent body fat, how many pounds of muscle mass you have, and where it's distributed, where your fat's distributed, and then most importantly, your visceral fat. So Josh and I also have done our body composition tests, and so we will be checking those periodically through the 90 days and seeing what our progress is through that as well. Another test that we have both done is the PNOE metabolic analysis. This is a 10-minute breath analysis that looks at your metabolic health through the different gases that you actually exhale with your breath. So most people know that you breathe in oxygen and you exhale carbon dioxide. We actually breathe out a lot more than just that. One of those included is ketones. Ketones is a byproduct of fat metabolism. So during carnivore, your body switches from using carbs and glucose as its main fuel over to fat, which then in turn creates ketones as a byproduct. So when you're in a healthy fasting state or a ketogenic or carnivore state, you're more so burning that fat. And so this breath analysis can determine that as well. It also determines your biological age. So your chronological age is the age that you tell people how old you are. Well, your biological age tells you how well your body's functioning biologically. That may be your chronological age. It might be 7 years older. It might be 8 years younger. So we're going to be able to determine what our biological age is now and then also after the 90 days of carnivore. We have also just completed our own blood tests to look at our lipid panels, so our total cholesterol, LDL, HDL, our triglycerides, our A1C levels, so like our blood sugar, kidney, liver function. We've also looked at part of the lipid panel that's an advanced profile is something called the oxidized LDL. Your traditional doctor and cardiologist probably are not aware of this, but your oxidized LDL is how much of your LDL, often known as your bad cholesterol, is actually oxidized or has gone rancid in your body. So it checks the quality of your LDL, not your quantity. Quality is much more important. So we've checked our oxidized LDL. So we're going to see how that changes, if at all, after the 90 days of carnivore.
And weren't you just saying something about a study that showed the amount of the LDL in your body can determine how long you live or something like that?
Yes, a study out of Japan, I don't remember when it came out, but it's been a few years at this point, showed that actually people live longer with higher LDL levels. And Japan is known to have one of the healthiest cultures in the world. People actually live, they're called centenarians, and they actually live to 100 or over. Most people do in that culture. And so, hey, if they have elevated LDL and they live the longest, then that is correlative with longer lifespan.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, we want to talk about a few of people that we know personally, some anecdotal stories, people that have been doing carnivore for a little while, one of them up to 2 years now, and have not heard a single negative thing from anyone about carnivore, about even just necessarily how difficult it is to do it, but just in terms of negative health effects and side effects that they've had, it's all been positive. They've lost a lot of weight fairly quickly, even just within the first month. Sometimes people lose a stark amount of weight. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know about you, but even just reducing inflammation in their joints and being able to walk better. There's just all sorts of different benefits. And I mean, a lot of that's just going to be the sugar, as Jenna will tell you and tell me every day, that sugar causes inflammation. It feeds inflammation. It's overall not a great thing to be putting into your body as much as the standard American diet does. Beyond that, just all the man-made chemicals that we eat that we don't, if you can't pronounce the name, and it's probably most things on the standard American diet ingredient lists, then you probably shouldn't be eating it. And I know there's not an ingredient list on a cow or a deer or whatever you're eating, but pretty sure there's not things that were man-made in there.
No artificial flavors, no artificial food dyes, no MSG.
At least not that I know of.
No sucralose.
Yeah. Depends on what they've been eating. So, I mean, be careful with that. But also,
choose your deer wisely.
Ken Berry was saying that the ruminants are the #1 animal chosen for anybody to eat, but especially carnivore people, because their 4-chambered stomachs can actually break down some of those chemicals to something that doesn't go into their actual meat. Things like glyphosate can actually not be a problem in the meat of a ruminant animal because of that. If you're eating an animal that doesn't have that, well, then it might still be a problem. So, yeah, lots of benefits. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I hope you've learned something. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and for watching it all the way through. Stick with us. This is going to be a long, like I said, 90 days, a very long time for us. It's going to be a learning experience for sure, hopefully for y'all as well. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave a comment. You can also get in touch with my wife.
Yes, at southeastnaturalmedicine.com. You can leave a private message. I'm the only one that sees those, so I'd be happy to answer any quick questions that you may have. We really want to try to do this not just for our own health, but really to help share our experience with you all to help as many people as possible feel better, lose weight, lose inflammation, gain muscle. The list goes on.
So yeah, please, if you got anything from this, please like and subscribe. We're going to be putting this on both of our channels. Mine's still a very new channel. Hers has been around quite a bit, so there's more awesome videos there. Check those out as well. Again, you can check me out, 3D Scott, at 3D Scott Productions on YouTube, and
at Southeast Natural Medicine on YouTube.
All right, thanks, and stick with us.